Hello, LTX Quest. I'm thrilled to be here today introducing our next segment. My name is Tanya Tomlinson, and I'm a Strategic Account Director at Salesforce, based out of Los Angeles, California. I am so excited to join us today, and it brings me joy to see this LTX familia come together. Salesforce is so excited to be a presenting sponsor for LTX Quest and continue elevating our Latinx voices and experiences. And I'm honored to be here with my Latinx community and allies, celebrating our culture and creating a deeper connection. Being a first-generation Latina in corporate America, I think these kind of events are crucial in affirming that we belong at the table. So I am so glad you're here today. It is my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker for today, Marie Williams, Area Vice President of Sales at Salesforce. She'll be sharing with us her story on unpacking her complex identities. We'll hear about her journey to becoming a leader in the tech industry, the obstacles she's overcome, and some of her most defining moments personally and professionally. This session is sure to leave you inspired. So without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to Marie Williams.
Hello, LTX Quest. I'm so honored and excited to be here today to speak with you about my personal journey of becoming a Latina sales leader in a Fortune 500 tech company. My name is Marie Williams, and I am an Area Vice President of Sales at Salesforce, based out of our New York City hub, and I lead a team of sales leaders and account directors in our analytics practice. I've been with Salesforce for 10 and a half years, and I've been working in the tech industry for almost 20 years. I'm also half Mexican on my father's side and half Polish, German, French on my mother's side. Coming from a mixed background, identity has always been a big part of my life. Never really feeling Mexican enough and never really quite white. Growing up, my father was a musician and Santana was the soundtrack to my childhood. My mother was the most caring, hardest working person that I knew. She went from cleaning people's houses to becoming an international executive that traveled the world, and she's my hero. I feel like pieces of them installed drive and creativity that has really fueled my life in a way, and the way that I view obstacles or challenges. When I was a senior in high school, I got pregnant. I didn't want to burden my mother by living off of her with my new son, so I decided I would work in the apartment industry. While I was in that industry, I realized that I actually caught on to software a lot faster than others. I was quickly moved into a technology role where I was able to train other property managers on software and eventually got recruited by a friend to sell that software into the apartment industry. That's where I worked for a leader that told me that if I really focused on it, technology sales could change my life. I'm not sure that I really believed him from the time. I mean, he was a salesman, so what I was telling myself really was this sales thing was probably just something that I was going to do to get through college. I never really saw myself as a technology person. I thought I was going to be an actress or a lawyer. The tech world was dominated by white men, and I just didn't see it as my future. Despite that, I did do everything that I could to keep my head down, blend in, and work as hard as I could to get every deal that I possibly could. When you come from a mixed background, this blending in can kind of be hard. On one hand, you struggle with not feeling enough to own a seat at the minority table. And then on the other hand, frustration when seeing blatant discrimination or prejudices on display in rooms where maybe you're passing or your ethnicity is not known. I've had to field the "what are you?" question pretty much my whole life. And it's kind of funny that when people did realize that I was Mexican, suddenly my name became Maria and not Marie. And in spite of all of this, I had to find a way to manage those different situations and still make people like me. I mean, I was in sales. People buy from people they like, or so they say. In the beginning, I hate to say it, but I just kind of played along. I laughed at all the awkward situations and kind of let things slide. I didn't want to be the fiery Latina. I didn't want to cause problems. I wanted to make money. That's what I was there for. I was beginning to see just how lucrative it could be in tech sales. I was usually the only woman on the team, and certainly the only minority. I suffered from imposter syndrome on a daily basis, but I did see if I kept my head down and focused on looking and sounding like everyone else, I could provide more for my family than I ever had before. And then I met my husband. He was standing in a crowd watching a band at a salsa club, and I actually asked him to dance. He hates it when I tell this story because there's a lot more to it than that, but I'll leave it there for now. And it turned out he was also in the technology world. His mother actually worked with me in the marketing department at my company. And I was shocked because she was this very intimidating woman that stood tall and confident and just we all knew not to mess with her. He was actually the first one to call me out on my issues. He hated when I doubted myself and pushed me to go for everything that I deserved, that I earned. So when I came to Salesforce, I saw a company that was very different, a company that was focused on being a force for good in the world. I was in love with the culture. This was no longer me just fighting for a paycheck. I actually loved what I was selling and what we stood for. I worked with leaders and people that encouraged diversity and embracing your authentic self. I didn't have to silently cringe while white coworkers said something inappropriate in front of me. I could actually call them out on it and not be afraid. I worked for leaders that saw the value in the different perspective that I brought to the table. And this experience just woke up a completely different side of me, a side that wanted to lead, that wanted to drive change and progress. This fully authentic person that I was bringing to work was more engaged, more inspired. I took on bigger challenges and scarier, more complex accounts. I was behind a huge groundbreaking deal with a Fortune 10 company that shifted how Salesforce sells enterprise deals. And I think I've progressed as a leader. I try very hard to appreciate diversity in every person on my team so that they can feel comfortable in being their full identity, their full selves. I do believe Salesforce was a big part of my growth. I've been able to participate in a number of programs specifically for underrepresented minorities and women that helped me remove boundaries I was putting on myself, gave me the courage to go after new opportunities. I actually learned that I was spending a lot of time code switching. I'd never heard of code switching before, but every time that I changed how I was presenting myself based on the room that I was in, I was code switching. If there were all white men, I acted one way. If there were some women in the room, I acted another way. And if there were actually minorities in the room, different. It was exhausting to really balance all these different versions of me. And what I've learned is that the more of myself that I brought to the table, the better my work effort. When I worried less about who I was in the room and just focused on what I could offer to the conversation, I made room to grow and expand my own capabilities. I started to speak up more. I pushed back. I challenged others. I grew confident in the fact that my differences were powerful. I brought a unique perspective that was valuable. If you acknowledge and appreciate everything about your unique identity, you'll have no choice but to be your authentic self. You'll see that the best version of you is to just be who you are. At this point, I don't really know any other way to be. And I instill this in my teams to the best of my ability. Diversity is such a big task to take on as a leader. While I pride myself on it, I had to hold myself accountable when I fell short as well. I realized that I can find the white version of me, the Black version of me, the gay version of me, straight, male, female, you name it. They were still all people that thought and acted just like me. So I had to challenge myself to find people that thought differently and worked differently. It's so easy to find people that have similar identities to you, but we never truly grow to be our best until we make ourselves a little uncomfortable and challenge our own norms. In the tech world, we're always on the look for the next disruptor, the one that's going to flip our world on its head, the one that's going to take away our safety blanket. This is why we have to find a way to disrupt ourselves, embrace the different, learn how other people think and view the world. I've learned to accept that our identities are really our superpowers. When we bring more diverse people to the table, we all win. So instead of muting those parts of you that make you different or make you stand out, you should lead with them. In sales, we say you have to drive a unique value proposition. If your pitch or your value message is something that the next person behind you can say or repeat, try again. There's only one you, and that person comes with all kinds of experiences, good and bad, and that's what makes you who you are. If you own it with pride and bring your authentic self to the forefront, I warn you, not everyone's going to like you, but that's okay. Find the place that embraces you, and you won't regret it. So thanks again for this privilege. I really appreciate being able to spend time with you today and share my story. Hope you have a great day.